I'm going to karaoke for y'all. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? Especially on YouTube later. My kids would hold that over my head forever. Welcome to all of you. We want you to know how much we value and treasure our businesses downtown. You have just been phenomenal, especially through COVID and having to learn to deal with that, and you survived. We all survived. It's so nice to be up here without a mask. So I'm just going to do some introductions today and turn it over to the people who really know what they're talking about and get you prepared and know what the impact and who you need to contact and all that good stuff when it comes to the Ironman. First, we have Kevin Lewis, and I had to Google Kevin's title. I know Kevin, but he's the Director of Tourism for Greater Zion. And then Sarah Otto is with him. She also works she's the Marketing Director for Greater Zion. We have, I know, but I didn't know, his official name. You guys just call him Huddle. So Paul Huddle is with the Ironman. What's your title, Paul? Regional Director. And you'll see a lot of him during the Ironman. Mark, why don't you introduce yourself? Mark works here with the city. I'm going to have Mark introduce himself and let Charlene Quell also introduce herself. And that's all you're going to hear from me unless you have questions for me. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Mayor. Mark Mortensen, I know most of you, and my involvement with the Ironman is I act as a city liaison with Ironman. Kevin and I work closely together. Washington County and the city have an interlocal agreement to put on this event in our city and throughout our county. And so that's my involvement. I've also been involved for well over a decade with downtown businesses and been the liaison with downtown businesses, which now that responsibility has been shifted to Charlene Quell, and she's here with us too. She can introduce herself. But we will probably see you all multiple times between now and September as we prepare for this big event. We have a big event coming up in 3 weeks, but an even bigger event coming up in September. So Charlene, did you want to introduce yourself real quick? And I also want to add that we're recording this because there's a lot of downtown businesses that are not here right now, and maybe some will be coming in late, so they may miss something. So we'll send a link out to you, Charlene likely will, so you have all this information and can reference it again if you need to, all right, and share it with your other friends and neighbors downtown.
Thanks. All right, hi guys, I'm Charlene Quayle. I've met most of you, not all of you, and hello on Zoom for anyone that's there. So I'm the Economic Development and Housing Director for St. George City. I've been with the city about 2 years. And one of the things that we're going to be looking to do is the Chamber of Commerce is looking at taking over some of the coordination for the downtown merchants group that is already existing. But the city is looking forward to getting together maybe once a quarter with all of the downtown, expanded beyond that merchants group, and just getting together, talking, listening, sharing information. So watch for more communication from me and my office. This is Jenna Davenport. She is our coordinator in economic development and housing, and so she'll be helping me get communication out to all of you and really having it be a two-way street. Any questions, any concerns that you all have, use my office in that way so that we can better learn what your needs are, what's going on, help us in planning, all those different things. So glad you're here, and hello, glad you guys are here too. All right, who's next? Kevin? Turn it over to Kevin.
Thanks, Charlene, and thanks, Mayor, Mark. Really, I can't say enough about the relationship with St. George City and the way that they step forward in all of this kind of stuff. It is just incredible what this city does to create an opportunity for things like this. And so we're pretty excited to share with you the downtown businesses. Some of you know what's going on, some of you don't know what's going on, and that's the idea of this, is to get together and talk about what's happening and learn from each other and try and make the most of the opportunity that's here. It's been, as you know, just over a year since everything shut down, the world of sports, entertainment, and everything just much came to a standstill on March 12th, and a year later, here we are talking about holding a world championship. We're one of the few locations in the world that could possibly do this, and we're going to do it. We're pretty excited about that. I think we have a chance to do something that's really, really special here. And when you look around at what's going on across the world and how many things are still closed down and not happening, and we're celebrating something as big as this, it says a lot for our community. This will be the first Ironman World Championship since 2019, so all eyes are going to be on us. Everybody is anxious to get out and race. Huddle can tell you the North American Championship race, which is in 3 weeks, has one of the biggest fields Ironman's ever had on the pro side. It's huge because they're all coming to get back to racing again, and they're preparing for the World Championship. So this is going to be an opportunity like no other. We'll have athletes in the World Championship. We'll have athletes from more than 100 countries coming. They're literally racing to get to your doorsteps, and I think that's important for us to remember as we embrace this and try to make the most of what's here. As community leaders, we've been working on this for about a decade or more, really, to get a world championship here. That's what it takes. And so today what we want to do is bring you up to speed on the developments that have happened so far, brainstorm with you on the opportunities that are there for you and the impacts to your businesses. We know there will be some of those. But as I said, I think it's just pretty fortuitous that we're the destination that has the World Championship in 2021. I don't think there's many others that could pull it off, and so we're pretty excited to be the one. And I think it's a good opportunity for us to display what this community is all about, what the heritage that fought to get through all of the things they fought to get through to get to us to the place that we are. In light of that heritage and in light of that whole concept of endurance and grit and whatever, we've come up with a theme for the World Championship race, and I want to show you this video to kind of get you dialed in. This is the video that goes out to all of the athletes that qualify, and every athlete has to qualify to get here. So we're sending them this to introduce them to our community and our area.
There is a call, whispered on the wind. Echoing from the canyons of the storied American Southwest. Over forest, mountain, and desert. To the four corners of the earth. Come to the land of endurance. In what will be the first Ironman World Championship since 2019, 7,000 of the world's best triathletes will claim their place. On a course 2 billion years in the making. It is the largest, most globally recognized sporting event to ever happen in this area. It will bring world-class athletes from 110 countries in all 50 states. It will infuse $25 million into the local economy. In a land sculpted by persistence and determination, the breath of the desert is beckoning. Prepare yourself, your heart, your friends, and your community for a display of human performance measured in geologic scale. The Ironman 70.3 World Championship, here in the land of endurance.
So that gives you a taste of what the others are seeing. Again, it just wants to show you itself again. Let me just jump into the slideshow here real quick, and we'll take it from there. Okay, so a little Ironman World Championship basics. So the full distance Ironman race had been held in Kona, Hawaii forever, since 1978, and that's been their world championship venue. And then as the 70.3 distance became more and more popular, it actually became the most popular distance in the Ironman circuit. More and more triathletes doing that than the full distance race. And so they got this concept to take the world championship literally to the world. So they started moving it around the globe on the 70.3, which made it different from the Kona event that happened every year and gave it its own little special sauce and flavor. So you can see some of the destinations that it's been: Zelzee, Austria; Nelson Mandela, South Africa; the Gold Coast of Austria; Nice, France in 2019. It was supposed to be in Taupo, New Zealand in 2020. That event has been postponed and now jumped over top of us, so we'll have St. George in 2021 and New Zealand in 2022. So the other thing that's happened with the World Championship event is they found a way to help this thing grow by having 2 days of racing, a women's race on the first day and a men's race on the second day. So all of a sudden you doubled the number of athletes that can come, and more than doubled, because they can expand that field, especially in a location like ours where we have the capability to do that. So we're expecting 2,500 women athletes on Friday, race day of the 17th, and 3,500 males on Saturday. Huge event. Let's see. Get my operations underway here. In Nice, France in 2019, they had 110 countries represented and 5,700 athletes. The anticipation at that point was about 7,000 athletes here. I think with the changing of the world dynamics, we can expect probably around 6 is my guess. We'll have to see where that ends up. But about 2,800 from outside the U.S., 17,000 family and friends, and as you saw in the video, 25 million in economic impact for the event. This is already starting to take hold of our community, though. We wanted to create a legacy for this. We've been working on this thing, like we say, for 12 years. We have 10 years of races. And so part of our contract, we have the 70.3 North American Championship, the 70.3 World Championship in September, and then next year we will have the Ironman North American Championship. So following that race, when we've had all of those, we'll have had more championship races, more Ironman championship races than any host venue destination. St. George will be the championship city. So that tells you kind of the caliber. And this weekend, this picture was taken on Saturday night. Tri-clubs from throughout the region met here in a camp all week long. They came down to Town Square and had a little get-together, and then they all flooded over to the monument to take photos and send them home. And so you can see that this is already starting to develop, and stuff like this, creating this kind of legacy type, the artwork and the sculpture and things like that will just continue to feed that championship vision that we have here. I want to take you kind of through the event so you'll see the whole thing, you understand what it is. So a 70.3, that's the distance that they're racing. 1.2 mile swim that starts at Sand Hollow State Park in Hurricane, and that quote up there that you can't quite read on here says probably the prettiest swim course I've ever seen, and that's from former Ironman world champion and 70.3 world champion Leanda Cave. She came out here a few years ago, raced this event, and took a picture and posted it on Instagram with that caption. She's been everywhere in the world and seen all of these destinations, and that was her feeling about Sand Hollow State Park and the beauty there. And I won't take you through too much of this, but you can see kind of the layout here at Sand Hollow. You've got medical and start and finish transition area. The swim is a little different than it has been if you've been involved in the race before. It used to go out around the island and come back. Seeing that, yeah. Now we're going to start and finish right there at the ramp, and that makes a really positive spectator experience out there. So you can be in one location and see the athletes leaving and then coming back. So that's. I just want to kind of size up the whole thing. So that's 1.2 mile swim, transition area, medical, and all of that. We can zip through some of this. But then they leave Sand Hollow and they head out on the bike, and the new course one of the things we did when we designed the course way back in 2009 was when we were trying to figure this out, was we wanted to showcase the area. You could have taken a course and run it wherever just to make it convenient and easy, but for us it was about showcasing the destination and using this event to really show off what we have here. So this goes around. Sorry. I'm going to stay muted. So the race goes around Sand Hollow State Park, and I think I've got a graphic here. Yeah. You start out here at the reservoir, and you'll come around Sand Hollow State Park on the new SR7 highway that's not even open yet. But they'll come around this beautiful stretch of highway, do a little out and back on 3000 South, I believe that is, and flip around and come back here, and then continue on that highway over to SR9. And then they jump onto SR9, run up here to Telegraph Street in Washington, and this brings you all the way down through Washington's Telegraph Street to Washington Parkway. It takes you up over the freeway. And then there's another little out and back right here that's going to be fun for the World Championship for the town of Washington. You'll come down Buena Vista Boulevard here and turn onto their new Main Street. They just redid Main Street down there. It's a beautiful road, and it'll take them all the way down into the heart of town, right there by the city offices, where the bikes will turn around and go back up here, and then on the new stretch of Washington Parkway all the way up to the top of Green Springs. So beautiful stretch of road there too, really a scenic view of Green Mountain and the reserve. And then down Green Springs Drive over here to Red Hills Parkway, where it runs up across the top of the city here, past the Sugarloaf and down to Bluff Street, and then across onto Snow Canyon Parkway. And you guys know how pretty that is, that whole drive. So you just, every inch of this course is just beautiful. And then they turn right onto Snow Canyon and go right up the hill all the way to the top to SR18, come racing back down 18, down diagonal and into Town Square. So that is the 56-mile bike. And then the transition from the bike to the run. And again, this is a professional photographer that does events all over the world, and he was quoted on Instagram saying one of the prettiest courses on the planet. The photographers that come here say everywhere you point the camera, you got a good picture. So there's just a lot of that kind of dialogue out there with an event like this. The run course for the World Championship, a little different than our typical North American Championship race. They'll start at Town Square and go up. They're going to go up diagonal, as usual, up Bluff Street to Red Hills Parkway, and then come up here and do a little bit of an out and back along the bluff there, so they get to see the city over the top of the bluff and run back down this way, and then they will come down Skyline Drive and down Main Street. That really steep section of Skyline Drive, that's going to be quad killer, right, Huddle? Not for you. But what we're hoping is that whole section there turns into a spectator, really nice place to see those athletes on the hill and whatever up on top of here. So that's the run. And then we get into now the stuff that you're really interested in. This is the layout of the downtown area. So this is Town Square. All of this area, this is the school district building. Let's see, school district parking lot, school district building, buildings here, the carousel, the splash pad, that area here, and then Main Street right here. So you can see all of Town Square will be completely filled up with Ironman Village. Actually, across Main Street, we'll have medical and a whole bunch of stuff over there in the Wells Fargo parking lot, and the grass area there will all be filled up with stuff as well. The transition area actually lines up along Tabernacle Street, all the way down Tabernacle, and then Main Street. So you can start to see a little bit of the dynamics with the downtown area. A lot of stuff from 300 West all the way to Main Street. That's going to be closed down for the transition where they stage the bikes and put everything there, and then they go back out on the pick up the run there, and then come back to the finish line. This is a little more detail, but what we anticipate is over here in by the Green Gate Village area, kind of an entertainment complex, bands and things like that, a beer garden and that, where people can come across and just hang out there. across the transition area. Roundabout turns into just a traffic. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Huddle, you want to explain that?
Yeah, it's pretty simple.
It's pretty simple. Bikes come down, they go this way.
Tabernacle, heading over to transition, and they're going to get rid of all their bike gear, put on their run stuff, and come running out. There's green arrows, so they'll take an immediate left and head up a really fun hill, and then up diagonal, and then when they complete the loop, coming back down, like Kevin said, that's the completion of the first loop, right? So then they'll be heading back out, doing that again.
Around and do that whole thing again.
Second time, they go to the finish line.
Second time they come back and peel off and go this way.
It's going to be a lot of fun. That's
Yeah.
definitely the hot part.
Yeah, and having the MDOT right in the middle of all of that should be pretty fun for them. You can start to see, the layout. If you've been to Town Square before and seen the merch tent and all the vendors and everything, we've extended all of that clear down through the parking lot of the school district. So all of that will be Athlete Village. This area is kind of a parade grounds and a staging area for events and things that will happen downtown. Stage area up on top here of the steps and all of that. This is the finish line area, so raised covered view area, bleachers and stands and all of that, and then the finish chute where they actually, they go through the chute here and then wrap up, get their medals and everything down here, and you got post race stuff there. So pretty active spot. A couple of other things that happen with it, and I'll go through the full schedule with you too. But there's a 5K that happens on Wednesday morning that starts right at the library, and then we'll run down to Huddle. Is that 400? Gosh, yeah, this is, yeah, so 400. So we'll come down Main Street to 400 over to the university, run a little lap through the university, and then back down on 200 and back up to the library there. So that's going to be Wednesday morning on the 15th. So a lot of people in town participating in that. That's the start area right there at Town Square. And then on Thursday morning, there'll be the Iron Kids Run, which basically just loops Town Square, starts here, runs around, comes back to the finish line, the actual finish line of the race. And then there's different sections of that depending on the age of the child, so they can do a shorter loop here. And then we also have in the evening, on Thursday evening, the Parade of Nations. So we talked about 110 different countries. So they all come out with their flags. They all get together and they come down and do a parade route here, and then end up on the parade field for a big presentation there. So that's Thursday evening. So a lot of activity during the week that's going to bring these athletes and their families and supporters downtown to the downtown area. But it's also going to cause a little bit of congestion as we shut down roads and things, and at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning to have a kids run and all of that. So we have to prepare for all of that. This is the event schedule, and we can talk through this, and stop me if you have questions or want to go over any of this in a little more detail. But the build out actually begins, it starts a week early. On Thursday, September 9th, they start to build out Town Square through the weekend. Then on Monday, the street closures begin. So Tabernacle from Main to 300 West closed down starting on Monday. Main Street from 100 South to the Avenir entrance and the Zion Bank entrance. So not all the way up to Telegraph, St. George Boulevard. Just up, yeah, exactly. Where am I? Yeah, it's not going to go that far. But we'll leave the access to the Avenir entrance from St. George Boulevard and the Zions Bank Plaza open until later in the week when that shuts down. So basically what we end up with is this big walking downtown area, which I think is going to be phenomenal. Mark and I were in Nice, France, and the plazas there and the people walking through that, they shut everything down, and it just fills with people. And so you're just going to have all kinds of foot traffic there. But that's what we need to plan for, is the fact that those things are going to be closed. The Ironman Village opens up on Tuesday morning. On Wednesday, we shut down the school district parking lot, and that's when we have the 5K run in the morning and the Parade of Nations in the early evening. Thursday the 16th, the fun run. So the Children's Museum that area is going to be all locked down. lockdown's a bad word, but but yeah, the Children's Museum closed to the public because all of that will be utilized with Ironman events and activities and things that are going on. Friday, race day for the women, Saturday for the men, and then Sunday, merchandise sales continue downtown, but then some of the teardown begins. So the transition and everything is all pulled down right on Saturday night. Is that right, Huddle? Yeah. So then Sunday, they start to tear some of the peripheral stuff down, but merchandise and all of that stays open. Questions on that real quick? We're on the schedule. Okay. So here's what we're thinking, and this is where the brainstorm begins. So these are just a couple of ideas and thoughts that we're working through. We are working together with the communities that are involved to create a proclamation that we call Friday the 17th Ironman Day or something along those lines. And so this is in the works because we want to just create that recognition for everybody that that day is a special day. The school district has already made that Friday the 17th a no school day. That gives us access to all the buses, which we need for transportation, but it also gives us access to all the children who can volunteer and the families and all of that. And we want that support out there. Yeah. Shh. Am I saying things I'm not supposed to? Be careful here. But what we're thinking, what we would love for the businesses to kind of take a look at your schedules and look at how you can adapt to this. Can you make this a volunteer day for your business, a community support day, and just jump in and be part of the event? There are so many volunteer opportunities and needs, and if we can get all of the businesses that are impacted by this to throw in that support, it gives their employees and their customers something to do as part of the event versus becoming a real, a difficult thing if you're trying to conduct regular business. And so I know every individual business is going to have its own specific needs there, and we'll have to talk through those. But get thinking along those lines. What could we do different, unique that day to really support this? Make your business walkable and inviting. Find ways to get out on the street and open up opportunities if you have hospitality business. Get ways for people to see you and have them interact with you because they will be around. They'll be in your area. There's a program that we are starting with this May race called I Am Local, and businesses can sign up for that. With that, basically what you need to do is just create some kind of an offer for the athletes. Anybody wearing an athlete wristband or whatever comes in and gets X offer, and you decide what that is. We'll have a QR code that we'll email out to you where you can get to the website where you can post those offers, and we'll just list them on a website and get that information to the athletes that are coming to town, and then they'll know of your businesses, know what your offer is, and they'll bring their friends and family in to support your business that way. So, what's that? Yeah, and then there'll be posters that you can put in your window that says I Am Local. So every business that's participating in this event gets a poster, and so any athlete or spectator walking along the street can see that in your business as well to create that opportunity. We're trying to create some ambassador programs with some of the professional athletes. I met last week with one who's in town. Sarah Crowley has been in town for a month or so now training. She's podiumed in 2017, I think. She was on the podium at the World Championship there. She's a fantastic athlete, had a little injury, took a little bit of time off, and then COVID hit. She's back and ready to go. And somebody mentioned that our area was open and a good place to train, and she showed up and she's loving it here. Absolutely loving it. You'll see pictures of her all over the community. So we're going to try to create some programs with athletes like that who can then potentially come into your business, sit down at your shop and talk about their experience here or whatever to give you some opportunity to get some exposure through these ambassadors that are coming to town. And so we'll work with you on those. If you're interested in those kind of ideas, let us know, and we can coordinate and work together on that. Want to throw out the consideration of opening on Sundays if it's appropriate. There'll be people here both Sundays, the weekend before and the weekend after. Obviously, if they're doing all the setup downtown and stuff, if you've got amenities and things that might be assist those people. And the following Sunday, they'll come down for merchandise. They'll be wrapping things up, and so consider the possibilities there. Like we talked about Green Gate Village, turning that into kind of an entertainment beer garden section of the downtown area. And then the last there, just some ideas, think about locally. Invite your local customers and your staff to be a part of this celebration. Find a way to get them involved in it and help them to appreciate what's happening here. I like to think of this like similar to when Salt Lake held the Olympics. They created this legacy and everybody got involved, and it was something that everybody could celebrate and be a part of. And they just embrace the fact that it was here. It just changes the attitude. If you're involved in the event and your employee, your staff, your customers somehow see the energy, it'll change the whole attitude from, oh, I can't believe this is shut down, to, oh, I can't believe this is happening here. And that's what we need from here till race day, is to do that. So help them adapt, adjust your business that week to help them adapt to it. Do something special pre or post event. Educate them about the event. Help your teams and your customers know what's going on and encourage them to enjoy it. There's some ideas.
Let me see your mic and I might fix it. Just got to talk closer to it.
I got to get closer. Okay. Yep, I'll do that. So these are some of the, just significant impacts. You guys are already probably imagining all of these, but getting around town is going to be tricky that week. So there's going to be increased traffic, people with rental cars, people who don't know where they're going. We've got a big initiative right now to put wayfinding downtown. The city's been heavily involved in planning that, and the county supporting that with some funding and things to try and help that out. But we're also working around with to figure out other parking access around town, and there's a few that we've secured already that are lots that are available. And so as we get this information printed up on maps and things like that, you can help your customers and that understand, look, if you're coming downtown, here's some places you can park, and some of it's going to be a little bit of a walk. But there will also be, we're implementing a shuttle system that gets people back and forth from the major retail areas. So the Dixie Center in that area, they'll have shuttle running from there to downtown, shuttles from the Red Rock Commons area, out in what's the corner there on, what do we call that? Sunset, thank you. Yeah. So there'll be shuttles running back and forth. So you can park in these lots and jump on a shuttle and get in back and forth that way too. So think through those kind of things. These are some other tips that I'm going to throw out. Prepare for increased visitation. So if you're a restaurant, plan on people using everything you have. and Huddle can talk about some experiences they've had in other locations where Starbucks ran out of coffee, right?
Right, exactly right. Subway. Thanks. Exactly right, Kevin. In Tempe, Arizona, we canvassed the town and told them, hey, there's a lot of people coming. You need to staff up. You need to make sure you're ready to go. Starbucks ran out of coffee, and it wasn't Subway, but a comparable Subway type chain, a sandwich chain, ran out of bread. So it will be extremely busy. And like Kevin said, we're not talking an Ironman with 2,500 athletes, which is a lot. We're talking a world championship with 6,000 athletes and all of their friends and family. So it's going to be big. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Thanks, Huddle. Think about in the next 4 or 5 months, social media. Start using the hashtags. IM703WC, so World Championship, right? Rise to it, which is sort of a tagline that we've got with our video and our promotional materials. That land of endurance that you saw, the Greater Zion hashtag. People start sharing all of that all over the place, and it just connects us all to this bigger event. Helps people see that. Think about your websites, your Google listings. How can you take advantage of the people that are looking for things to do and places to be and how to get around and all that kind of stuff, and update those kind of things. Sarah, do you have any ideas on that? You want to add more to that?
No, I mean, it's just the idea of people being in market and on their phones and on their devices, and everyone's turning to Google. So I think that is the place to push people, just to make sure everything's updated. Your hours, if you're adjusting hours, adjust them there.
Yeah, make sure they're online so everybody knows what to expect.
Parking info could be adjusted there too.
Mm-hmm. Just communicate with your customers, let them know well in advance what's happening, and like I say, get them to embrace it. Do what you can to make your business accessible or non-accessible. Just say, hey, we're not. Depends on your business, right? What's going on. But I I think it's kind of interesting, that especially in the hospitality business. I mean, it's just anything you can do to let people know about what you have, they will come. They're going to be looking for things to do. And then our site, ironman.greaterzion.com, will have continuous updates and detailed information where you can get to know the event, know all about it, study it, understand it, so you know where it's at. Mark, do you want to add anything? I don't know that I have a lot to add, but Shirlane?
Will you talk about how they sign up for volunteer space? If that's
Yes. Glad you said that, because it's like, it's actually like in my PowerPoint. Let's see. So, before I get to that, I did want to remind everybody of the May race that's coming up. It is sold out, huge pro field like we talked about. This will be aired on Facebook Watch live. So everybody around the world that's watching these 100-plus pros that are racing and all their friends and family will be able to see our area and get an introduction to it, see what's happening. We are downplaying the spectator side of the May race just because we're coming out of COVID and we want to make sure that we put off the event safely and do everything right that way. So no spectator shuttle at the swim, no bleachers at the finish line. There won't be food at the expo. And there will be temperature checks and things when you come into the athlete village. This is in May, not in September. By September, we hope that's just wide open. We're going to have a chamber breakfast event on April 27th at 9 a.m. at the Dixie Center. We invite you to come out and be a part of that. Diana Birch, who's the Senior Vice President of Global World Championships, she'll be on hand to talk about it more then. And then the last thing, like Shirlane said, is volunteer. We'd encourage you to volunteer for the May event. That one needs help right now. With COVID, everybody's kind of forgotten that's how we do this. And so anything you can do to encourage people to be involved in volunteering that. And this is the contact information, and I guess maybe if I minimize that. There you go. So Colby Nelson is our volunteer coordinator. There's his contact information. For the North American Championship in May, you go to this website and you can sign up right there for just scroll through and find whatever area they want to be involved in. The World Championship volunteer site is not live yet. We're still focused on May. But you can contact Colby as a business and say, look, we want to get all my people involved in something. What do you need help with? What can I do? And brainstorm some ideas of how you can get involved that way. And so we really encourage you to do that for the World Championship. But don't forget about May, because we really need to pull this event off in a successful way. It's the volunteer side. I can't remember if I got anything else. That's about it. I'm exhausted. Are you? I really wanted this to be a little bit more discussion and get some feedback. Yeah, Hank, have you got?
I just had some more questions on what's going to be shut down. In particular, so I manage the Avenir. So behind like Bear Paw and those little businesses, there's that new alleyway. You mentioned that St. George Boulevard will be open, and then the first part of Main Street, so you can still get into at least our drive. But there will be no exit coming out of that alleyway. Do I understand that correctly?
Right, Huddle. Yeah, onto Tavern.
Will there be any access into that alleyway for? I'm concerned about our valet parking operation. They're going to have to flip cars around now to go back out the way they come. Normally they pull through there, and so I'm just, if there could be space left for a car to be able to be U-turned. Yeah. Yep. So that other alleyway between, or I guess would that be south of Bear Paw, will still be open as well.
No, it'll only the onto Main Street.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I'm
so
talking
they
about.
can do the U still.
Okay.
Yes, it'll be closed. Main Street will be closed from that point south. For exactly that reason. So
Okay.
your valet guys can still get through that.
Okay.
We'll have to switch that around. And Hank, we'll get with St. George PD. We walked that with Ashley. You need to use this. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold it close. We walked the Avenir a year ago as we were preparing for the full distance Ironman, and started to kind of map out a strategy for that. We can do that again. I think come down with St. George PD and try and figure out how to make sure that your guests have some access, especially Friday and Saturday is really that the whole thing shuts down then, both those days. And so we've got to find access for your guests there.
Yeah, we'll be coming down and meeting with you all in person with the PD and talking through the logistics of that. We're going to be doing a bit of that.
Further along those lines too, I think a lot of this is individual. Like, it's all going to affect your businesses differently, right? So I think there's an open invitation to meet with any of us and have those one-off meetings as needed, and happy to brainstorm any of creative ideas, business ideas, et cetera, too, to take advantage of this.
I was really excited to see Larry here. We definitely want to sit down with you and figure out what your shutdown means and what the schedule there is. You're shut down now, but by September, yeah. So let's plan a meeting fairly quickly here and kind of talk through that too. You had it, yeah.
Hi, my name is Doug Hamilton, and I actually work for the city race department. Putting on all of the races. But in addition, my wife and I run the St. George Wine Club. And we have had a very brief conversation with the people at Greengate Village. If anybody has any, very brief, if anybody has any pull over there, that would be nice to know. Because that would be a good location where I've also talked to a number of the vintners and the local brewers about what we can do for Ironman.
I appreciate that. I think that's a good one-off meeting where we pull those guys together and talk about what the opportunities there are. Oh shoot, something slipped my mind. That's something I was going to add. Yeah. Oh, I know what it was. I just wanted to say a shout out to St. George Races. I was down at the triathlon camp, and about half of them did the shack tri. They said it was the best run tri they'd ever been to. So great feedback.
Just curious, has anybody talked to Spin? Are they bringing more scooters, and will they be taking foreign credit cards?
Yeah, I talk to Spin frequently, and so they'll be beefing up their operation as well in the downtown area. But we'll probably be geofencing out the Ironman Village. There's a conflict between pedestrians and scooters, so anyway, we can do that too during large events. It might be advantageous to do that, but we try and restrict that as little as possible so people can go where they need to go on the scooter. They did, yeah. Yeah, we did that. In fact, we called them, and within about 2 hours they had it geofenced out, which was phenomenal. They've been really good to work with. I do want to talk a little bit about the downtown. We need to have more conversation internally on this. But there might be some opportunity if we close down, a section of Main Street. I would rather not see it just a barren street with people walking, but actually bringing the wares and maybe even tables from restaurants out onto the street. So there's more activity out on the street, and that might. Yeah. Is that Meredith?
Meredith.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, we'll all be doing that after September. Actually, we won't, because we'll go right into marathon, right? And then senior games. So we'll never nap this year. But anyway, we need to think about things we've never thought of before. And so if there's an opportunity to bring things out onto Main Street, let's talk about those. Talk about those with us at the city to see. There's probably some flexibility they're willing to help you all with that would normally be prohibited in the ordinance. This is a different circumstance, and so there might be some opportunity there. So we're willing to help you and work with you in that regard on a case-by-case basis to make that successful for everyone. But remember, lots of people. We are going to have to shut down some of these roads just to handle the mass of people that will be there. We experienced that in Nice, and Nice is a pretty big city, and a massive city actually, and it was full. Anywhere near the event was just a lot of people. So be prepared for that. But again, think of creative ways and opportunities to do that. And I do think the hashtags are really important. It makes your business part of the larger global conversation, which is really cool. You know, people will say, "Oh man, I saw the Advenir in that conversation on the Ironman 70.3 World Championship page or something." You know, I mean, start those conversations going. You know, I think it would be really advantageous. Tim and Jeff, I know there's other things we need to talk about regarding not only the business but the parking structure and some of the things that I've already mentioned to you, Tim. So we have, you know, we'll have some one-off conversations in that regard as well sometime soon, very soon. Shirlane, Mayor, other things that we need to bring up? Are there other questions businesses have? Shirlane, there is one, and I'll let you may say it. We hope that you will look at the opportunity, and there's a lot of people that aren't here today. We hope they'll look at this as an opportunity to maybe expand what they normally would do. Stay open a little longer. We want you to be successful. We're not bringing people to St. George to hurt business. We're bringing them to help business and to help our economy. And so look at this as a good opportunity. There are some stores that are closed on Sundays. You know, there will be tens of thousands of people here on Sunday that will probably be looking for things to do and explore, and it might be advantageous for you to consider that. Staying open past 6 or 8 might be advantageous for your business. Those are the kinds of things we want people to be thinking about as we welcome the world to our front door.
Perfectly said. So the other thing I was going to mention is if you do need assistance with resources and things like that to do anything with Google or, you know, marketing or social media or whatever, the Business Resource Center at Dixie State University is a free resource that is here to help businesses in our community. And so they can connect you in with folks who can help build that presence if that's not in your wheelhouse. And if you've been wanting to do it for a while and just haven't, now's a great time. The other thing I'd love to put out there is when we look at art and art in our community, really get creative. Like Kevin and Sarah were saying, get creative with your business, but get creative in terms of how do you express your business in maybe a different way? And maybe that is by putting a really cool piece of art outside of your business that draws people in as they're walking by, or how do you rethink your displays, or whatever the case may be. So really, really visual. Really think about that pedestrian traffic in a way that we haven't had to think about it yet, because in the future, we're just going to continue to have more and more and more pedestrian traffic, especially in downtown. And so this is sort of a trial run pilot for an over-the-top pilot opportunity to really expand that. And we're here to help brainstorm, again, with any of those ideas. You don't have to figure it out on your own. We can help put together small focus groups, continue to have ongoing conversations about what some of those ideas are. And so just kind of network around those ideas so that you have our support to help figure out what they might be, and then wherever it is that the city can step in and help with that, we're at least willing to consider it and discuss it and figure out how much we can do to help get tables out on the sidewalks and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Good?
That's good. Yeah.
I want to address one other thing. We realize the courses, particularly the run course in the World Championship, it's going to be a little bit different, and it will impact residents and businesses a little differently than the May event. And all these events have some impact for people that live along, the course, and we recognize that, and we really appreciate them, allowing us or having us right at their doorstep with this event. There are ways to help people get in and out of those areas. You might say, oh, they're landlocked in. Our police department is planning some release valves, so to speak, where people can enter and exit those areas so they can get in and out on race day, and especially for emergencies too. We have had emergencies that have taken place during an event with a resident who lives on the course, and our police department largely does an excellent job of facilitating that and getting them in and out of there safely, while protecting too the safety of the volunteers and the athletes that are racing that day. So we are very well aware of that, and we talk about that frequently, especially right now as we're going into the May event, on ways to effectively get people in and out. Also, our dispatch, which falls under the responsibility of the St. George Police Department, they are aware of this as well, and they work hand in hand with our police officers who are on the ground and do an excellent job of facilitating that. So we are aware of the impacts. We also know that deliveries will be disrupted to your businesses, and you may have already said that, but it would be a good time to start planning for deliveries and let your deliverers, your vendors who you buy from, let them know that we'll have limited access, or let us know, and then we can try and figure out a way to get them in and out of the business. But noon on Friday or Saturday during the World Championship will be not a good time to schedule a delivery. It just won't happen. So we want to be thinking of those things well in advance, because it could be a little complicated.
Let me show you something. So this is up for the May race on the Greater Zion site, but there's detailed information about detours, road closures, and all of that. But I think this is really handy. You can go into this map here. It shows you the course, and you can say, I'm in this area. What do I do? And there's your instructions for how to get in and out of everything. So, location by location, you've got specific instructions for how to get around that day when the race is going on. And then all of this information is also available. All of these notifications are being sent out to these residents in these areas, and with specific instructions for what to do in their area there too. So that's all available on our website. If you need to know how to get around or help a customer or whatever figure out how to do that, go to the website. And then there's a lot of other information there: event schedules, spectator information, volunteer, all of that. Right now, that's at greaterzion.com/activities/Ironman. So, anything else? Anyone else? Please.
This is kind of piggybacking off of what Charlene said too, the world coming to our doorstep in a large sense, and just putting on that tourism hat too, and speaking from the tourism office, it is 6,000 athletes, but it is their friends and family that are coming, and you're not just speaking to these athletes here that are here in market. These are influential people in their communities back home, among their friends, those kind of things. You're creating a legacy and a footprint, really, for St. George, for Greater Zion, to get people back here, those same kind of people who are staying longer and spending more and being good tourists to our area. So think of that, think of the long-term impacts of all of this as well, not just September and when it's done.
Anything you want to add?
6,000 people. This is a lifetime achievement opportunity for these folks. If you've been to any of the other 130 plus 70.3 events around the world and watch what happens at the World Championship qualifying slot allocation, you will understand how big a deal this is. So I just want to emphasize 6,000 times lifetime achievements and opportunities to travel somewhere beautiful with their friends and families and explore that area. They're not just coming here to race. They are. But trust me when I tell you, there's a lot of husbands and wives who have made deals with their respective spouses, and they've said, guess what? You're going to do that race, and then guess what's going to happen? We're going to go on vacation, and we're going to check this whole place out. It looks fantastic. So just keep that in mind. And the only other thing I would say is we've spent a lot of time talking about the athletes and all these people coming. There's an army of volunteers in this town, and you guys know this better than anybody. I don't have to tell you anything new, but for us, it's a critical component of what we do. The community and the volunteers who are here, as much as we want to offer our athletes an opportunity or a give back, an offer from your businesses, we also want to offer our volunteers that as well. And then maybe if they come in your place of business with their volunteer shirt on or what have you, maybe they also can partake in that. But thank you all, because it is you guys truly are sharing. We're a guest in your town, and we really appreciate you sharing your community with us. And I say that on behalf of Ironman, but I also say that on behalf of all the athletes, because that's how they feel. It's going to be an amazing experience. Every time an Ironman full or 70.3 comes to a community, it's a big deal, but the World Championships is going to be out of this world. So I'm excited, and I know that everyone else is excited, and thank you guys.
Thanks, Huddle. Mark?
We've got one other guest here that I would like to introduce to you. The City of St. George has been working with Dixie State University on a program called University, where we partner with the university to help us in some of the things that we're doing as a city and in our community. And I've invited Aaron to come say a few words about an opportunity that downtown businesses have with Dixie State University as it relates to D Week and the first week of school and leading up to that. So I'll turn some time to Aaron real quick.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Erin O'Brien. I'm both a professor of biology at the university and the director of community engaged learning. And I'm helping Nancy Hauk with this new initiative we have as part of our strategic plan, which is where the university serves local municipalities. And of course, it was obvious that our first partner needed to be St. George. So in our meetings with city officials, one of the things that we have heard several times is that we need to figure out a way to get the DSU students into the downtown area and patronizing the downtown businesses more. And so we have floated some ideas, and we have run these by the folks that are running our first-year student experiences. And so there's the potential for a couple of opportunities depending on how local businesses feel about this. But we're now expecting 3,000 first-year students to come to campus in August. These 3,000 are going to be spread out into smaller groups during summer orientations throughout the summer, but they are all going to be here the week before classes start. We have 2 move-in days, which are Monday and Tuesday of that week, where they are likely to be here with their parents and their extended families, and people are going to be staying in hotels and eating out. Then the students are going to be here on their own Wednesday through Friday, going through a 3-day intensive orientation where they are basically let loose. They don't have anything scheduled really, starting at around 5 p.m. So what we had discussed with folks from the city is that we could potentially work together to create, 1, a fun activity, and 2, create an incentive for students to stop visiting the River Telegraph Road corridor and maybe orient their attention a little bit more to the downtown area by making sure that we had really good transportation from campus to the downtown area on those evenings, and to see if there are businesses who would like to participate, kind of sort of as Ironman is kind of asking, in some special incentives. So what we had talked about is we know that Friday, Saturday, super busy. You have probably absolutely no interest in doing cut rate deals for these students to come out on those days because you have plenty of business. But we're figuring, and I know Thursdays are also a little bit busier than, say, Wednesday. I've heard Wednesday is a little bit dead. I'm guessing Mondays, if you're open, and Tuesdays are also pretty darn quiet in the evenings. So what we were thinking is that it might make a lot of sense, and we're open to feedback, that perhaps if businesses wanted to, on Monday and Tuesday, perhaps offer some sort of discount to anybody walking in with a student ID, because we're pretty much only going to have, we're going to have a few upperclassmen, but it's almost exclusively going to be first-year students. And we're going to only market these things to the first-year students, although we're, again, you know, any student is a good student if they're paying customers, right? But the idea is that when their parents are in town, when their parents and their parents' checkbooks are in town, to maybe offer a little bit of a discount. And we wouldn't necessarily worry so much about transportation on those days, because again, parents are there, cars are there, and just something to kind of draw them downtown, and maybe have a little bit of a treat, a little send-off, again, while their parents' credit cards are available, for a nice dinner or something like that. But that then during the 3 days when they're on their own for the first time, we have the opportunity to kind of set the tone and set the pattern for where they go and hang out and where they go for food. And so what we had been hoping to discuss with you all collectively, if you're interested, is, again, maybe offering on, say, Wednesday night or Thursday night, or heck, if you really, if you have a dead Friday night in August, we could do it Friday night, instead. But some sort of small prefixed kind of deal, like, dinner for $5 or dinner for $10 or something like that, where it's a really, really good deal. Obviously, still not losing money. So it would be whatever works. And that for whatever night or nights that you wanted to do something like this, that we would work with the city, and between SunTran and DSU buses, we would basically set up a shuttle to move students very easily back and forth, probably up and down Tabernacle, to get them to the downtown area, so that some of their very first experiences as newly independent college students are going downtown and eating at those restaurants and experiencing the attractions down there, so that they go to, Bear Paw or 25 in Maine, or I'm forgetting the name of the noodle place. I'm so sorry, even though I've been there. Thank you, Twisted Noodle. Instead of going to, the big chains, just to the other side of campus. I don't know, is this something that people might be interested in doing? We would take care of the transportation. It's just a matter of, having you all offer the specials. We would promote it for you to the students. This basically serves some of our purposes. We want the students to have fun. We want them to feel like they know the town and that they belong and that they can do cool things here. But we also want to support our local business owners, especially these small local businesses. And this seems like a great way to both give the students a fun experience, but help them to begin to think about, hey, I want lunch. Hey, let's go out for brunch, or whatever it is. Well, they've already been out there, and hopefully they already know how to take the SunTran out there. That's kind of what I'm hoping. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. For those of you who are present, any thoughts? Sound like a good idea? Oh, and here's Nancy. Great. Sorry, Nancy. So Nancy Hauk is my boss over at the university, and is the one who actually dreamed up the entire partnership program as part of the strategic planning process. So I see some people are like, yeah, that sounds good. All right, we will put together an email, and we'll have Charlene maybe get that out to everybody, and then we'll work with the city on the transportation issue, assuming that there's enough interest. All right? Fabulous. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Aaron. What a great partner DSU has been with our city. And we just wanted to throw that out there, too, as knowing that we'd have several of you together tonight, just to start to think about some opportunities outside of just Ironman, right? And we're always looking for ways to benefit our downtown businesses, which is really the heart of our city. Kevin, any last words?
Just again, appreciation to all of you for the years and years of support and strength. Those of you that have been around for a long time have seen how this has changed the fabric of our community. 12 years ago, nobody knew what an Ironman was here. Not nobody, but very few. And it's really changed the dynamic where I go places and business leaders tell me quite frequently that it really just changed the dynamic of this place from what, you go back, again, 10, 12 years ago, and this was a retirement and golf community. And that was pretty much all that got talked about. And it's not that way anymore. There's a whole different environment, and it's a big portion of that, I think, happened when we started bringing endurance athletes to town. And they discovered all of the other things that were the there were to do, and they started telling everybody about them, and that really changed the fabric. So this is an opportunity. I love Huddle's excitement about what the World Championship means. You have to experience that. You have to see the energy in these people, and they put their heart and souls into, every day they're training, they're preparing, but they're qualified now, and they're coming for the World Championship. We're a World Championship city, and I'm excited to show that off to the world.
So just two quick stories real quick, and then we'll wrap up. But we were standing in the airport in Paris, Kevin and I had my St. George shirt on. I was purposely trying to wear it as much as possible for name recognition at the events. And several people came up to me and said, "This is in the airport in Paris. St. George, Utah, you're hosting the World Championship in 2021. I said, "Yeah, that's right." And they said, "Man, we can't wait to get there." Also, when I was in Nice, on more than one occasion, in fact, there was one guy and these were Europeans, and they recognized the shirt, and they said, "Oh, St. George, Utah, we're planning to come to the West." And the one person said, "Yeah, Nice is cool. To me, Nice was like amazing." And I'm just like, yeah, this place is all right. But to them, I think the one person was Austrian. And they said, "Yeah, this is cool, but we're really excited to come to St. George." And I'm just like, right on, And why wouldn't you be? Remember, see the world through their lenses. To us, we walk outside and it's like, yeah, red cliffs, beautiful blue sky. I think we take it for granted, but remember, for them, it's like, it's absolutely as spectacular as it was for you when you were first here or when you first experienced it. I remember for the first few years working here, Larry was on the city council. I would just walk outside my office every night to go get in my car and just pinch myself, just like, wow, I'm in St. George. So remember, they'll all feel that same way. That's why we're doing a rodeo on top of a World Championship Ironman. All right, people want to experience American rodeo, and we want to give them that opportunity. So anyway, a lot to look forward to, a lot of things we need to address and problems to solve, but we can do it. That's what we do. And I appreciate your time. And for those on Zoom and for those that will see the video later, hopefully this information you can take back and give us a call, and we'll work through those details. Paul, thanks for Huddle. Thanks for joining us, and everyone else, we appreciate your attendance today.